Come. It is 6 o'clock now. We'll start the meeting. The first item on the agenda is consider the minutes held from June 28th.
I make a motion, we approve those minutes.
Motion is made, seconded by David. All in favor. Next item on the agenda is Mr. Gary Bennett about regarding zoning concerns. Gary, the floor is yours, sir.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Bennett. I've lived in Rocky Shore Lane now for going on 40 years. On Rocky Shore Lane, we have 11 year-round homes and we have 19 seasonal homes. Many of them are multi-generational. Neighbors are calling it a disaster on Rocky Shore Lane. For all the time that people have lived out there, they've been able to walk on the camp road and they've been able to exercise on the camp road, been quiet in their expensive properties on the water, including myself. We've never had to deal with what we're having to deal with now. It's a construction company. And we're listening to the tailgates banging. We're listening to the heavy equipment. We're listening to all the trappings of a construction company. And the same people that are running this construction company are now putting in tiny home for rental on the west shore of Messalonsky Lake. Some of our residents who exercise on the camp road now have to go out and exercise at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they see seedy construction workers sipping their coffee, watching them gawking as they exercise on the camp road. That's all gone now. The root cause? No zoning in Oakland. We have got to stop kicking the can down the road. Oakland is growing. Property values on our camp road are going down because of construction company and mini homes, which are nothing more than trailers that will be rented supposedly with water access, but there is no water access on the camp road. Can't kick that can down the road anymore. Who's next? Is it going to be Willie Point? Is it going to be Cedar Village? Because somebody will set up a construction company or whatever they want. We've got to come up to the 21st century and do something. You need to protect the people that live in Oakland, the people that pay a lot of tax dollars. Their property has to be protected against this type of thing happening anywhere else. I realize there's nothing we can do about what's there now. They're gonna get their permit from the planning board. But I don't want to see it happen to anyone else in Oakland that's got waterfront property, get it ruined by what we've got on our camp road. I've got some residents here from Rocky Shore Lane. I don't know if anyone's here from Willie Point or Cedar Village. But we're all asking you to take it seriously. This is a serious problem and it's unnecessary. I mean, even in Belgrade, they've got a commercial development ordinance. Winslow's got protection. Waterville certainly has protection. In Oakland, we have none. And I'm not just talking about downtown zoning. I'm talking about zoning that covers the whole town. Something that's comprehensive, that works to protect the people that pay a lot of tax dollars in this town. That's all I've got to say. Anyone else?
Anyone else like to speak up and sir?
Yeah, my name's Tim Dexter, live on Rocky Shore Lane. As Gary mentioned, I'm third generation owner. We've been on the lake for 72 years at this point. And my son definitely wants it to be 4 generations. My wife and I have been planning for over a decade now to retire to our camp on Rocky Shore Lane. It is not a year-round home. It's a one-season home at best. It's built 1924, and it looks like it. You know, just we're making plans to basically put several $100,000 into it. Sort of make sure we get approvals, of course, from out of Oakland for everything. You know, I thought we were pretty set until recently. I guess I never realized how quickly it could go downhill, given the construction company that's out there, delays blocking the road, so you can't get to work, people not getting out of your way. You know, and it's really not a commercial area, but I guess anyone can put anything they want in there, maybe with some restrictions, but. You know, it's making us reconsider our plan. It's kind of a huge headache, and it's like, I don't want to do this, you know, maybe find another place. It's just easier to deal with, and maybe, gives us a buffer against things like that. You know, our plan is still to try and make it work, but, you know, and as Gary said, that one's, you know, already set in motion, but it's not, I'm glad my father is 88, he just came through for the 4th, and I hate to say it, his faculties are diminished, and I don't think he was crushed by what he saw up there, other than noting that the road was extremely bumpy and kind of in shambles. And I'm kind of thankful for that in this case. Anyways, just want to say my piece. It's becoming kind of a financial decision for us. You know, I don't know if you want to send that kind of money into a place and you know, put up with a headache every day. Seems like there's should be places that you can ensure that you can sort of keep the peace that you've had for decades. Been there my whole life. And unfortunately, we're dealing with it, and it just, if I'm, once I make a plan, I usually try to stick with it. I'm making, have second thoughts at this point. My guess is, it's not gonna be a big selling point for others. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Anybody else?
We need to do something because,
Can I have your name, sir?
yeah, Peter, Tewksbury, I live on the Market Shore Lane.
Thank you, Pete.
It's, for somebody to come into your neighborhood and be able to do exactly what they want without even confirming their neighbors what they want to do is just totally wrong. I mean, at least have something that if somebody wants to do something, they gotta get permission from the neighbors. I mean, just to go ahead and ignore everybody and that's not right. Something has to be done about that. I mean, if you got the other people in Oakland that build a home today, it costs $300,000, $500,000, right? And some guy wants to put a garage in next door, whatever. You know, that's not right. There's gonna be some ordinance to at least give permission from the neighbors to be able to, so the neighbors are aware of what you're gonna do and have some input in it. I mean, he just got a lay down area up here in Walkie Shore Lane. There were about 6 trucks in it, lawnmowers, excavator, and backhoe and all that, and he takes up 75 feet of the road. And the runoff comes right over the end of the road. Is, you know. Okay. Well,
Anybody else? Thank you, Pete. Ma'am?
Penny Wallet.
Penny, thank you.
Rocky Shore Lane, several generations. I just can't believe it. I can't believe that town of Oakland does not have any zoning. I don't believe that anyone should be able to devalue someone else's property by what they do. You know, someone shouldn't be able to have a house and abandon it, and let it all go
That's the other.
kaput and not be able to do something about that. When someone comes in and devalues what you own, it's wrong. So yeah, you need some zoning. That's a private road. We shouldn't have to put up with that, but we do. Because there's no way to stop it.
That is correct.
He also, I question, you know, because we're on the lake, you know, the spies are out there. If we do something because we're shoreline, right? You tax us by the foot, shoreline. But you can get your money shoreline. And we can't do anything. Because we're shoreline. And you have to be so many feet that we're shoreline, that's where you get your tax money. And yet, because he's not shoreline, you can't tell me that the streams and the wetland that he's moving does not affect our shoreline. And so, yeah, someone ought to be out there inspecting what he's doing. He's got a permit, he's putting in a septic, it's all been approved, but he's affecting my shoreline with his runoff. It does affect. But, you know, he can do what he wants to do, and I think it's a crime that these homes, $1 million homes that have shoreline are not protected. That's a crime. It's a crime when I can't move a rock because it's on the shore, and he does that in my backyard. Yeah. That's wrong.
Anybody else? I see no hands. I know that we have talked to the lawyers, which costs the town of money, the town of Oakland money, okay? So we are doing everything we can to look into it. No, we do not have a zoning ordinance. Yes, just recently, we went through this long, drawn out ordeal with the Central Maine Growth Council, which helps us.
Comprehensive plan.
Yep, to support one, you know, as we all know, the wheels of government move slow sometimes. Because we don't have to please one person, we have to please all the residents of Oakland. And your comment to the shoreline, we appreciate you living on the shoreline. I live on Willie Point in Oakland, I would hate to see that zone. I have quite a large parcel of land on Oakland, I will not put anything in my property, because I wouldn't want to depreciate my value. Okay, so I guess, you know, we hear you and we understand. You know, we will act accordingly, and we'll try to get as much as possible going on what we have to do. And we've talked about that. Ella, wait, go ahead, man, 1 second.
I'm sorry, I came in slightly late. Can I know exactly where on Rocky Shores? Because my property abuts their road.
What's your address?
My address is 290 Rocky Shoreline.
Okay, you're one of the owners, right?
I am.
290.
So going down, it is on the right of Rocky Shores,
Yeah, when you go down, you're actually gonna take the left.
right
You're
over
gonna
the train
you're
track.
gonna take the left, and then it's going to be right on your left as soon as you take that line.
So I would give a good strong hint that someone needs to test the water that's going down the Lake Lane. Because ever since there has been some work done up on the road, that we've had huge amounts of issues with flooding that we've never had before in the last 70 years that we've been down there. And so I have a feeling that you're going to find that there's a lot of runoff that is not supposed to be in there. Because it is quite dirty water.
So have you contacted DEP on that?
No.
The code enforcement officer is actually on vacation this week, otherwise he would be here tonight. We'll take a look at that. To kind of speak to this a little bit, first of all, like I said, we hear all of you. You know, I mean, I was pretty passionate at the planning board meeting with you guys, and I told you what my feelings were on that. We are in the middle of putting together a zoning committee. This has to happen in town of Oakland. Okay, we dragged our feet, this should have been done years ago. But it wasn't. And I think I explained to you at the last meeting, the reason for that is that there's a lot of people who live in this town who do not want the government to tell them what to do with their property. Okay, and there are still people who live in this town that don't want the government to tell them what to do with their property. But Gary made a good point, this town is growing. We need to have some kind of control on where some of these businesses go. And I think that the fact that we're putting this committee together, and right now I'm trying to ferret out an organization to help facilitate this, so we get on the right path. Because if we do it, we want to do it right. We want to monkey it up. Okay, so I know that this is not going to solve your issue right now, but it is going to go and hopefully solve issues in the future. a little bit behind the eight ball on this. We're gonna catch up fairly quick. Now, having said that, this is a years-long project. A comprehensive plan, for instance, took us 3 years to get this done. This project here, I don't think is gonna be an intense and as in-depth as a comp plan project, but we're still probably gonna be looking at a solid year, maybe even 2 years to get this all together. Because I've gotta listen to both sides of the fence. Now, I hear what you guys have to say, but there's a group of people out there that's gonna have a completely different argument. And I have to hear that. We have to pull this into the package, okay? So Gary Bennett is going to be on that committee. John Borman, he's a counselor, he's going to be on that committee. We've got some pretty solid people on here, and hopefully we can pull this together.
Sir?
My name is Paul Roy. I live on Rocky Shore. I've been there for over 40 years. I was lucky, I was fortunate a few years ago. The land behind my home, my seasonal home, was put up for sale. And I'm out of state. So I purchased the land just to stop some encroachment that I could almost see happening. And I have 3 kids. And sooner or later, I'm not gonna be here. And they may want to build on that parcel of land that I purchased. That's contiguous with the back of mine, just like you have a place in Woolly Point, you said?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Now, that the possibility of that happening is nailed to none. My property, if you built a home there now, from one of my kids or whatever, when you open the front door, they're probably about 15 yards from this trailer. That's staring me in the face. So this little trailer park that's being built has devalued some of our property, especially those who haven't built yet, but purchased some land. Those trailers now are facing us, and I don't think that's gonna be I don't think that's what we wanted, and I just wanna know from Mr. Perkins, if that would happen to your property on Whaley Point, you know, if someone came in there with trailers, if you came out of your backyard and you saw these trailers there, that would kind of make us think about, we need to have some sort of law, some sort of ordinance to protect other people from this happening to.
Thank you, sir.
I got a question. Why
Sir,
couldn't a neighborhood, I'm not saying the whole town, but why couldn't a neighborhood get together and say, we want this area zoned? And have a charter on that area? Now, since the law of an Oak Street, there's an abandoned house across the street, it's rotten, there's moss on the roof, it's evaluated, all the residents in the neighborhood, and nobody can do anything about it. I mean,
It's an unlivable house. The only thing
Unlivable.
that lives there
it
are
should be
critters.
shut down.
It is,
like I said to you a few minutes ago, sir, I hear what you said, because that's why I bought the property next to me. I understand, and I understand what you're saying, and that's why we're doing this. We will end up doing something to protect the residents of Oakland. You know, I'll be very first and honest to tell you, I'm not much of a zoning person, because I don't like people telling me what I'm gonna do with my land. That's why I bought the land beside me, and I don't want anybody to evaluate my home, not only Gary's or anybody else's. And I got that, I understand that, but we have to set something up to protect the value of people's property. And we hear you, we understand what you said. Ella, we have talked to the lawyers, our town lawyers repeatedly, which is every time we call them, that believe me, the minute you call them, they push the button and start saying, hey, you know, at $300 an hour, we're making money, keep talking. So we understand, and you know, and you're right on with a couple good points. So there's nothing we're going to do about it tonight, other than hear what you say which reiterates the fact that we have to take and do something. And it won't move fast. Any further comments, questions?
I had a question.
Dana, very good.
Gary, are these mini homes already built or are they being done or?
The homes are multi-generational, they've been there forever.
No,
The mini homes.
no,
Oh, the mini homes, yeah,
whatever you call
the
them.
mini, there's mini home, it's a trailer. And there's gonna be putting in, according to their ad on Verbo or something, it says many tiny homes. And the first one is there and it's a trailer.
Okay, so there's one there now.
Yes,
Okay.
but the
I wondered
earthwork,
if they'd started already.
the earthwork and the septic is being done. They don't have the permit yet, but the earthwork and the septic is being done.
They do have the permit. They
They-
have the permit for the.
From the planning board,
No, not from the planning board, but they have the permit for the septic system in that one building. That's correct, right? And, you know, I mean, we have the property owner sitting here. I don't know if she would like to speak to this.
I would just like to kind of clarify this so everybody knows. Currently, it is a tiny house on wheels that started as a side project that my husband fixed up. We have the permits. It is a little rental right now. What we're planning to do is build little A-frames that are technically not gonna be considered tiny homes because of the square footage. We do have the appropriate permits for the septic system. We are going through the planning board, but according to the town of Oakland, you can put 2 structures on your piece of property without having to go through the planning board. So we are setting the groundwork up to maybe put 2 in. And kind of go from there. But we've had the DEP involved. They've come down to the property. They've looked at what we're doing. We've gotten the green light from the DEP. We've been working with Nate very closely. That's kind of what's
Thank
going
you
on.
for doing the right thing. Further questions, Bob?
Just a comment, I've lived in Oakland for almost 50 years. And what you're hearing here tonight is the age-old debate between the person who doesn't want anybody to tell them what they can do with their property. And on the other side, people who would like to protect their property from someone doing something next to them that devalues their property. So that's a debate that goes on, that has been going on ever since I've lived here. It goes on throughout the state of Maine and further, I'm guessing. There are people who are really committed to having zoning, people who are committed not to having zoning. And zoning ranges from people, zoning ranges from communities where commercial operations need to be separate from residential and residential from school, etc. Other zoning goes to the point where every building on Oak Street has to be painted the same color. Literally. So somewhere in between, I fall somewhere in between. And have for some time, and I chaired the comprehensive plan committee. And we took almost 3 years, like Ella has said, to come up with some base from which we can then develop what the majority of the townspeople want from zoning. And frankly, when we were doing the comprehensive plan, we were careful not to talk about zoning much. Because there is a large constituent of residents in Oakland who past history would tell you, don't want anybody telling them anything that they have to do with their property. So I think we're at a stage now, and this room is full of people who are not usual attendants at our meetings, who have an interest in a particular point of view, some kind of zoning, as do I think most of us. The problem will be establishing where that line is set. And I look forward to Ella bringing together a committee to look where we want to set that line and having input from all of you. No matter what your feeling is on zoning. To attend and work with us to set the line where it pleases the most people. Who live in the town of Oakland. Not gonna please everybody, there's gotta be people on both ends that will hate anything we do. Or won't like what we do. But I think that's kind of a historical perspective. And I hope we can come together and do something, I'm sure we can. But we need input, so don't make tonight the last night. And as the chairman has said, this isn't gonna fix your problem now or next week or next year, but in the future of Oakland, I think it's important to have that line set somewhere so that everybody understands the rules. That's my historical.
David?
I don't want you to think I'm just sitting here silent, but I'm listening to everybody. And when you go into zoning, like Bob said, it's a double-edged sword. Mr. Tewksbury mentioned building a garage on his property. If you go into zoning, you may not get your garage. Depends how it's set up. So it has to be, you can't do it tonight. This is gonna be a long drawn out process so that everybody's treated fairly and they can get what they want through process. Like Mr. Tewksbury said, you go to zoning, you may not get your garage.
Is there,
That's both sides of it.
Mr. Dexter?
is there a, so there's no zoning, like I could open a cannabis shop on my property?
No, because we have prohibition ordinance.
Okay, so that one's special. Yeah, got it, a bar maybe, I don't know.
No, you can build a bar.
Okay, so I can build a bar, but literally I can do whatever I want with my land.
As long, there is zoning in Oakland, shoreline zoning. And
Well,
all
that's-
of you
the
have
state
to
has that,
apply.
right?
That's where you are.
Yeah.
These people aren't part of the shoreline zoning because they're further enough back away from.
Oh, I get that, and I got land that's far enough
Right,
back.
Right.
That I got it back 40, I can
Yeah,
put something
yeah, if you're
on.
gonna do something on it, you better do it now, because within a year, that might.
I have 1 or 2 years I'm hearing, so. Put the gun shop back there, so. Good.
I just wanna make one point too. And Gary, I'm gonna pick on you for just a moment, and it's not intentional, but I wanna use you as an example. Gary has a business that's down in your neighborhood, and when he started that business up, I received more phone calls from people who were angry about that business. And and it was something that I shared this with him, this is not news to him. And I told these people, take a deep breath, it's probably gonna be okay. His business is non-invasive. It causes no problems for any of you. But I can tell you right now, I feel an awful lot of phone calls because of that. And some of them called with close friends of his. And so I understand that everybody is angst about this. Let's see how it goes. We can't stop it. I know that Nate has really been working with these people about making this project look as good as possible, get a lot of plantings in there and try to do it right. They did not do this right, and I made that point very, very clear, right way, the wrong way. And I think they heard that, so let's see where it goes. I don't think it's gonna be quite as bad as what everybody thinks it's gonna be.
Sir?
Hey there, my name is John Chover. I have a place on Rocky Shore Lane. And I just like to say that a lot of times these business, we're not anti-business, but these businesses start small. They're running a landscaping or excavating business. And, they start small and they start growing and they have equipment. They're working on it in the driveway. That one's busted. They're using that one over there to fix this one. Well, you know what? The whole yard's full of equipment. The whole place is decorated with a bunch of breakdowns. And, this is what happens. And people don't, when I first went up there, I'm on the lower road. When I first went up there and I drove by this place, I said, how did it get to this point without anybody saying anything? That's what I said. How did it get this far without anybody saying anything? But it is, and maybe about 3-4 weeks ago, there was a truck in the driveway. Rear end was torn out of it, had a dually on it, rear end's torn out of it. When's the next truck coming? It's gonna be equipment all around the yard, half torn apart, and that's why we need zoning. We can't have this happen. You know, it starts small and then it grows big and there's nothing we can do about it.
You have my word, we'll make this happen.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for your input. We'll move on. The next item on this item is item number 3, to review and authorize the town manager to sign the dispatch for a PSAP agreement.
Okay, you have a new copy of the PSAP agreement. Bob, Dave and I chatted back and forth through the internet. There was some issues with the first draft that Waterville sent. Bob made some recommendations. We sent it back to the city of Waterville. They agreed to pull those issues out. Bob, would you like to go over that explanation a little bit, please?
As most of you know, the town of Oakland lost its public safety answering point, which was located in Skowhegan sometime, and Waterville has agreed to allow us to use their facility in the agreement that was sent to me initially. And I think the council all has it attached to their packet, maybe, there was also a new one. But the original one, under term, it said the term of this agreement shall be from on or about July 12th, 2023 to June 30th, 2024, unless terminated earlier by mutual agreement. Should either party decide to terminate, a 30-day written notice will be provided. It makes no sense to me or anybody really that you have a 30-day written notice provision, because it would require a mutual agreement to terminate the agreement. So there is no notice. The two parties get together and they either both agree or they don't. Excuse me. The second issue that I had was the management fee. Partway into that paragraph, it says the first 2 years of the contract shall be at the price noted above. The city reserves the right to request an increase for the third year. Well, in the previous paragraph, it said that the term was until June 30th, 2024. There is no 2-year agreement, it's a 1-year agreement. So when I emailed my concerns to Ella, she contacted the police chief, I believe, or the city of Waterville, both, and they've changed it. And now if this is what the council wants, those problems have been removed.
And we're fine with it. I met with Chief Tracy about it. We're fine. He was spot on with his observations. We made those changes. All I'm gonna need, if there's no more questions, is a motion to vote to sign it.
I make a motion, we approve this agreement for the PSAP and the dispatch.
Motion's been made, second by David, all in favor? Thank you, Bob. Thank you, David. The next item on the agenda, one more item, is the tree removal from Mem Hall.
So our committee, the Memorial Hall renovation committee got together, the meeting was 2 nights ago. Monday, and that was one of the topics. Kelly, would you like to take that?
Yeah, because you threw me on the agenda for that one. So there's a tree in front of Memorial Hall. And yes, it does block the view of part of Memorial Hall. It's on the corner, it's right on the corner of School Street and Church Street. And when this idea first came up, I was like, there ain't no way we're cutting down a tree just to cut down a tree. You can see the building is big, beautiful, you can see it. And that's where I stood. Until I saw my name on the agenda that I had to handle this topic. So I went up and did some research on the tree. I looked at it all over and all that other stuff. That tree needs to be cut down. I know, right? Go figure. Has a lot of dead spots in it and large dead spots in the center of the tree growing out of the crown are dead. And the branches are actually resting on the wires as it sits right now. And the roots are starting to encroach onto the retaining wall. So to save the building, we need to make sure the envelope is good, right? So we talked about that being our first priority. This is part of that process. That tree needs to come down. Yeah.
So, and Kelly is actually from the company who might do this for us for free. And so that's all good stuff. And if you agree with this, I'd like to have a motion to vote to cut the tree.
I take no pleasure in the fact that the tree is dying, although after the tree leaves out in the spring. I made the suggestion that it would open up the vista of Memorial Hall if the tree were gone. I had nothing to do with the death of the tree. But I believe it will allow us to remove that tree, open up the view, and then if we'd like to plant a couple of small fir trees or something that are manageable corners, I think that would be great. So I move we cut the tree.
Motion is made, second by Dana, all in favor?
Thank you, Kelly.
Going out. David, do you have anything?
I'm all set.
Bob, did you?
I do not.
Dana, do you have? I don't. David,
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
all in favor? Good night, folks, and thank you. Have a great night.
Gary, I didn't get it, no.